If I ask you what's the hardest level of Geometry Dash, a lot of you will probably say that it is Tidal Wave, and you'd be correct. But did you know that there were levels harder than it? Or have you ever wondered once if there were levels harder than it that exist? Some of you might think of upcoming top 1s, and oh gosh, there are a lot of them. And yes, the majority of them are indeed harder than Tidal Wave, but I'm not talking about these levels. I'm talking about levels way harder. Like, you aren't ready to see how unbelievably hard they are. You probably see what I'm talking about. I'm talking about impossible levels. So, for those of you who don't know about or have never seen impossible GD levels, well, simply put, these are levels that no human can beat. Obviously. And I emphasize with that no human can beat because they are simply ridiculous. I'll show you a few classic ones. Silent circles. If the level looks normal in the beginning, you'll probably just think it's one other of your average non-circles level. And then the wave section gets a little bit crazy, but hey, that's not too bad. It's maybe actually just an extreme demon. And then this happens. Yeah, get it now? Absolutely ridiculous. Apparently this wave section requires you to do more than 15 CPS, so... yeah. Another one now, Slaughterhouse. I like this one because it is extremely funny. Do you know how to straight fly? That thing's easy. I prefer doing straight wave. A special one now. This one's actually cool actually. Death Corridor. Once again, a pretty normal beginning. It looks like an average extreme demon, and then boom, the drop, and there's this iconic wave section. The first time I watched this level, I was like, nah, this level ain't actually bad. And then when I saw the ending, I knew what the video I was watching was titled Death Corridor Old 100% Impossible Level 1 Clip Run Geometry Dash. There are a ton more of iconic impossible levels, like for example Exasperation, which is one of the weirdest of them all, or Unearthed Psychopen Circles, and even some others that I don't even know because I wasn't around in the community back when silent levels were the trend. Silent just means impossible, for those who don't know, but we don't really use this word anymore, only when referring to those old levels, or levels with the word silent in their names. This is a whole genre of levels, and most of the time they're just buffed to impossible versions of already existing levels, like for example Silent Processing, which is just an impossible version of Blast Processing. Silent Acropolis, an impossible version of the level Acropolis by Zorbros. That one is also a classic. Silent Poltergeist, the impossible version of Poltergeist by Andromeda. There are a lot of them. I think we're done with the classics. As I said earlier, these are pretty old levels. I just show them for those of you who have never seen how an impossible Geometry Dash level looks like. And they're really cursed, as you could have seen. And if you think there can't be any more cursed than these levels, well now we're getting to the more interesting and spicy bit of the video. Impossible levels now are a little different in some aspects compared to the old ones that I presented. I don't know, but they feel special in my opinion. I'll show you. Introducing the Impossible Levels list. ILL for short, it's a list that ranks impossible Geometry Dash levels. Okay, so you might be confused right now. How can you rank impossible levels? Are there impossible levels more impossible than others? I don't actually know how they rank the levels. What I think though, and from what I've heard, is that the ILL ranks their levels based on how difficult it is to bot them. The hardest impossible level would then be the hardest to bot. And also another thing, it's not any level that can be in the ILL. A level must meet some rules in order to be placed there. One being that it cannot contain parts, requiring the player to do more than 15 CPS to pass. Because, let's just be honest, that's just shitpost. Even though it can be funny sometimes, I understand why they put this rule, because it will be boring to only have ridiculous lazy spam levels in the list. It's very easy to do and not very creative. They also do have some decoration standards. They are not exactly specified, but the only rules here is to be creative and unique. And some of the levels here are indeed very unique. Presenting firstly Ballistic Wistfully, top 4. This level is kinda creepy. Don't know about you, but it gives me some uneasy vibes sometimes. And I like it for that. It feels abstract, probably because of the weird song, some of the effects and the weird decoration. That is not bad, but kinda disturbing. The whole level is disturbing to me. Like, look at that ship, bruh. The level is so hard that the ship doesn't have animation anymore. And to make you understand better the difficulty of the level, well, It has more than 500 frames perfect. It is only possible at 3000 FPS and the world record is currently 0.60%. Good luck trying to verify it. But something funny about this level is that you can actually beat it. If you enable low detail mode, the whole level will just completely disappear, and it's also gonna be very short for some reason. I don't know if the creators did that on purpose or if it's just a bug, but this seems to be something that can occur sometimes on some devices when entering levels with high objects count. Personally, I find this funny. One thing I'd also like to talk about with Ballistic Wistfully is that it features minus wave sections, a gameplay mechanic commonly used in impossible levels. A minus wave, from what I understand, is a symmetrical, sometimes asymmetrical two-player mode dual wave part. Oh, and with gravity portals too, sometimes different for both icons. And when you see how tight wave caps are in impossible levels, you know this is ridiculous. Let's see another level now. Formosa, top 2. This one was kind of a little surprise to me. Like, the beginning of the level feels kinda dark and mysterious, so you think it's gonna be another creepy impossible level, but then when the drop comes, everything becomes colorful and it's like another level. The vibe just completely changes from the beginning. I like the song a bit, and I've never thought that modern style the impossible levels were a thing before, so that was the first time I saw one. And it is actually visually pleasing, like it actually kinda looks worthy, or not. Because this level is freaking impossible. Another level I really like is Rain, top 5. This level is really special. Like, the deco isn't like the best or outstanding, but it has such a unique style. It is very charming, and it's especially the atmosphere and the song sync and representation that I really like with this level. Like, tell me this isn't good.
That's the only way the roses bloom. It's okay, I'm not okay. I do not mind the rain sometimes.
Personally, this is my favorite level on the ILL. Another level I also want to mention that looks really good, probably the best looking level on the ILL I've seen, is Vitrification. And this level is genuinely, actually, rate worthy. I mean, look at that. I don't know, but all of these levels I've mentioned feel so different compared to normal levels. They're uneasy and hypnotizing, unique and confusing. Like, bro, come on, I repeat, the ship does literally not have animation anymore on most of these levels. And if you want to know why, well, there's an explanation I've heard that says that this is caused by a bug called SSB, Scroll Speed Bug, and that this bug kind of breaks the rotation animation of game modes such as the ship, UFO and the wave. Apparently this bug only occurs at high FPS, and considering most of the ILL levels require insane amount of dots, that explains the cursed ship movements. But all of these characteristics make these levels cool, in my opinion. They come out of the ordinary, and that's what makes them interesting. Oh, and if you're curious to know what's the top one on the ILL, it's Cycle 6, the sequel to Ballistic Wistfully. It has some vibes, but personally I prefer Ballistic Wistfully. The world record is 0.23%.
Yo! I did it! I did it! I did it! Oh my god, I did it!
And it features the third variant. Okay, here's the last level for you. It is... Hahaha, you're gonna laugh. The level's called Come. And it actually does look kinda good. It's goofy, but like, it doesn't look bad actually. That's all I have to say about it. The reason I wanted to mention this level is mainly because of its name, and we're gonna end it here with the impossible levels list. But that doesn't mean we're done with the impossible levels just yet. If you thought Ballistic Wistfully and Cycle 6 were very hard, oh no, these levels are nothing compared to the next ones I'll be showing. And I mean it, nothing. We're getting to the real spicy bit now. The reason why I wanted to make this video, introducing to you the realm of the hardest physically possible levels. The PPLL, short for Physically Possible Levels list, is a list ranking the hardest physically possible Geometry Dash levels. I'd understand if you'd think that this is kind of like another type of demon list, because it says the hardest physically possible levels list, but no. The demon list ranks the hardest rated extreme demons in GD, meaning the hardest humanly possible rated levels, since a level needs to be verified legit to be rated. The PPLL, however, ranks the hardest physically possible levels in Geometry Dash. And if you think, just as I thought, that physically possible means that they are humanly possible, well, no. Not even close. So what does physically possible mean then? Well, by physically possible, this means that a level doesn't necessarily need to be beatable by a human, but passable from the beginning to the end on normal mode. If I have to give an example, let's take a short level. A very short level, with a 4-block tall wall in it. If you're a cube, you're not gonna be able to beat the level, you just die because there's literally nothing you can do to pass this wall. Unless if you tamper with the level, but that's cheating. Same thing if you use no clip. But now let's take a level with a 1-block gap corridor. If you're a wave, well, this level is actually possible. You couldn't beat it for sure, but if you bought it, you'll see that this section is passable from the beginning to the end screen. Since there's no obstacle or no way to make it impossible, it is physically possible. This is personally how I understand it, but you get the point. To get into this list, levels must be physically possible. Oh, and I forgot to mention it earlier, but this rule is also there in the impossible levels list. So that means that the levels in the ILL aren't actually totally impossible, but humanly impossible? Sure they are. So then, what makes the PPLL different from the ILL? I think it's this thing right here that the list says in its rules. The physical possibility of a level is determined within the physical game engine. All exploits and bugs are taken into account and can be required to complete a level. And about these bugs and exploits, well, you'll see when I show the levels. There are only two that I want to show this time for this list. The first being PPLL Life by Roxy, Yaboy Mega and more. Former top 1 of the list and currently sitting at number 5. This level is just a joke. It's a sort of parody of High Life, Low Death, I don't know, mixed with some random decode parts. And oh, I forgot to mention, but the PPLL doesn't have a rule regarding CPS. So yeah, this is the result. The level doesn't look more special than that approach in the end. It's just another joke impossible level, I guess. When I told you there was no CPS limit. But how is that possible? How is that even physically possible? I was as confused as you. And I still am. You have to know that this number on the right is a number with over 17,000 zeros. The length of this level is longer than the time it will take for the universe to die. This level is not physically possible, it is straight up impossible. Well, actually, it is physically possible. As I said earlier, as long as it is feasible in the game, then this means that it is physically possible. They didn't say a level needed to be physically possible in real life. Here's another thing the list says in its rules. Certain real-world laws of physics are ignored when determining physical possibility. For example, clicks can be faster than the speed of light, and levels can require more time than the death of the universe to complete. Only the physical game engine matters. But there's still another question that needs to be answered. How did the creators do to make such a long level? I still have no idea how. But what I know is that they exploited something in the game called the exposition limit. It is the limit as to how far you can go in a level, and when you reach that point, you can't go any further, and the only thing you can do is jump. Also, something cursed that happens there is that you can climb on walls. Just wanted to mention that. And the thing is that the higher your FPS is, the closer this exposition limit is gonna be, and for the speed as well. The slower you are, the sooner you're gonna get to the exposition limit. And plus this bug, the creators also use something else called expose timer. Apparently this is what can make a level last for very long years. There's one video of Cobb where he talked about this expose bug briefly. And there's another YouTuber, SmicGD, who went more in depth on the subject on one of their videos. So check it out if you wanna know more. It is a video of very good quality. Though I have to say this gets a bit technical and my dumb ass didn't really understand all of it. But it's only going to get more complicated for the next level I'm going to present. You might have already heard of it. It's Nessus, the level whose length is over 10k digits. This is just insane. Like, you have to realize that people are making levels that are lasting longer than the life of the universe. They're going way too far. There's an explanation on how the creators made the level, the mechanics and all of that, in the description of a video showcasing the level, if you're curious. But I have to say it, all of that is very confusing to me, and I am not in the capacity of explaining how this level works. But if you think that's not complicated enough, oh, we're not even done yet. The numbers are going to get even more ridiculous. Let's end with the hardest theoretically possible levels. Just before, I wanna ask, how do you call this figure? Like, you see these kind of structures, we call them club step monsters, but like this guy, how do you call it? I don't think it has a proper name. It appeared first in the old impossible level Death Corridor, as far as I know. So, can we say it's a Death Corridor monster? I'd call it like that. You can write in the comments how you call it if you want. That could be funny to read. The TPLL, short for Theoretically Possible Levels list, is a list that ranks the hardest theoretically possible levels in Geometry Dash. So, what's that now? Theoretically possible? Here's what the list says in its rules. The level doesn't have to be physically possible, but it needs to be possible assuming GD ran on an abstract game engine, capable of operating on arbitrarily large finite decimal values with perfect precision. You see that last line? Large finite decimal values? You are not ready. Okay, so here's the top one of the list, Transfinite Void. Upon watching the level, you might think it's just a regular impossible level. Impressive, but not so different than the other levels of its kind. But when you know how many FPS and CPS this level requires, you're starting to wonder how is it even possible in any way. This number, this is the FPS and CPS required to beat this level. I don't even know how to read it. All I know is that it has a link with the Pacheco matrix system and fast green function in hierarchy. This is super complex math right here. This is super confusing to me. But apparently, from what I read in the comments of the levels showcase video, that number right there is super big. Like, extremely big. I don't even think the word extremely is enough to quantify how big it is. We're entering the territory of Googology. We're almost reaching infinity. And we have to remember that this was done on a Geometry Dash level. And to say this is theoretically possible. But how did the creators do this time? Well, in the comments of the levels showcase video, they said that they used an algorithm. I guess this is thanks to it that they were able to implement such big numbers to the level. But when you think of it, what's also very difficult is not only the level itself, but the fact that you have to learn super insane advanced math, Googology, fast green functions and all of that to create it. Like, these guys and the others in the TPLL community are insane for that. Because almost all of the list is filled with levels with complicated numbers with their CPS and FPS. I swear, these guys are the mathematicians of the Geometry Dash community, and I can see that they're very fan of Googology. Surely these smart guys with all their knowledge must be more mature than the rest of the GD community. Okay, no, I take back what I just said. These levels are never going to be beaten. Never. Like, there's no chance of this ever happening. And you know what's the funniest about them to me? It's that they're possible. Physically and theoretically, that is. But like, even that is mind-blowing to me. Because, well, fucking levels lasting longer than the life of the universe. What the heck? And although it is obvious that we will never be able to see a completion of one of these levels by a human being, we are actually getting better at the game, to the point that we are able to beat once thought to be impossible levels. Silent Club, Silent Club Step, very recently Element 111 RG, and we're actually getting closer and closer to beat fucking unnerfed Sakupen circles. And don't talk to me about those upcoming top ones. Some of them look so much like impossible levels. And oh, look at that! Slaughterhouse is top 8 on the demon list. That shit was top 1 just a few years ago. Freaking Slaughterhouse! I don't know, but seeing that we're getting better to the point where people beat Slaughterhouse as a warm-up is at the same time scary and exciting. Because as we're pushing the difficulty ceiling higher and higher, One day, who knows when, maybe we'll reach the impossible. But what is the true hardest impossible level ever created in Geometry Dash? Well, here it is. Emptiness. A level that is physically impossible. There's no way you can beat this level. There's a crash trigger setup in it, making your game crash on every frame. Oh, and its length? It is 43 octillion years long. You're stuck here till the end of time. There's one comment under the showcase video that I'd like to read that describes this level perfectly, in my opinion. Honestly fitting that the hardest level in existence will be a level where it feels like reality no longer exists. A level with just you and a white screen. The embodiment of a theoretical end to existence as we know it. And it's topped off with a simple yet powerful name. Emptiness. One can always try to outdo the previous in some way, but it's stuff like this that will always stand out as proper top ones. Kingdom of Miraculous, Wistfully, Ballistic Wistfully, Silent Circles, Tartarus, Zodiac, Bloodbath, Bloodlust, Suffer. This is no different to this, and I'm pretty happy to know that it's theoretically impossible to dethrone because of it. I just lied to you. This is not the hardest impossible level ever created in Geometry Dash. In fact, I created the hardest impossible level this game has ever seen, and it only contains one thing. A 4-block tall wall.